Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to my December TBR, and I am pre-filming this in mid-November, so honestly I do not know how many books I got through from my November TBR, so I'm just going to hold them up and go, these are some books that if I haven't finished them then I plan to hopefully finish them during December, who knows, let's go, I'll hold them up now. Okay, insert footage. And the reason that I put all of these on my November TBR was because I was planning for jaw surgery. So I was thinking I was going in for jaw surgery on the 3rd of November. And then due to COVID and everything and the hospitals putting aside ICU beds and availability, I was told that my surgery was cancelled. Given that it's elective surgery, I kind of expected it to be, but I was obviously disappointed and I was told it wasn't going to happen until January, February. However, I got a call recently to say that some elective surgeries have been put back on the books again, and so now my surgery date is the 17th of November. Therefore, all of the reading that I'd planned to do during November has now gone into December as well. So I'm going to be off work for about a month of recovery. I'm going to be on a liquid food diet for a while, and I'm probably going to be in a lot of pain because I'm getting my jaw top and bottom cut into and then rearranged. So it's not going to be a very fun recovery, and I don't know what my reading is going to be, like my reading capacity will be after I come out of surgery. Hopefully I can get through some of these, but if I do and if I don't, I will just reflect in January and I'll let you know. I don't know when I'm going to be able to film videos either, so I hope to have several pre-filmed before the surgery, which is obviously why I'm filming this video now, but we'll see how it goes. I really don't know. I'm just going to have to play it by ear and we'll see how we go. So these are all of the November books that I had on my list, and I'm probably going to go and grab a few of them by audiobook, but Theft of Swords at the very bottom here has an audiobook, so I've already got that lined up, and so does the 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Both fancy, both my jam. I have a few others to talk about in this video as well because I wanted to reflect on all of the TBR videos that I've done this year and see what I've actually read and what I haven't, so let's go. And we'll work backwards, I think. So in my November TBR, I also had The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, and this is one that I'm currently reading, and I obviously will be still reading it when I go into surgery, and then I'll recover and then come home. So I don't know what my capacity for physical reading will be like, but this has proved to be pretty easy to get through so far. It is a high fantasy with multiple perspectives, but despite that, the writing is very palpable, and I'm quite enjoying it so far. It is about two characters that we've been introduced to. Vin is one of them, and she's like a 40-year-old woman who runs a vineyard. She's quite wealthy. And then there is another character who seems to have been from this line that are like vampires. So what happened is ages and ages ago, this tree that's like their god that they worship died, and they used to harvest the sap from it, and then that is what they used as sustenance. Now they use human blood or blood, and it doesn't really do what the tree sap used to do. The tree has died. They've tried using blood and they've brought on this massive disease and blood plague. So we are in the midst of this race being looked upon as foul because they need to take blood to survive. We don't know too much about the ramifications of that on a wide scale kind of course, because we've only really seen from one character who is quite wealthy. So it's interesting because he's leaving this place because he's like, all that's left here for me is death. I may as well see some of the world before I die. So that's essentially what he's trying to do. So he's pushing out into the world. Vin is just uncomfortable with her life. She feels like she's reached the roof on it, and so she's like, I want to do something more. And I don't know if anything comes into her story and then removes her from it as like the inciting action, or if like the other character, she just up and takes herself out of her familiarity. So I'm like, 30 pages in, maybe less. It's very early days so far, but there is some kind of magic involved too, so I'm interested to see how this goes ahead. And now on my June TBR, I had Play of Shadows by Sebastian de Castell, and this is the newest book in the continuation of the Greatcoats series. So it follows a set of characters that are the kids of the Greatcoats. The first book is Traitor's Blade. I have a separate review for that. I loved this series, which is obviously why I'm anticipating Play of Shadows, but it had a release date of, I think, October 2021, and it's now been pushed to next year. So I don't feel too bad by not starting that one. I was very confused with trying to order it and pre-order it because I was like, hang on, this was available on the website and suddenly now it's not? Did I pre-order it? Did I order it? I'm not sure. So I'm really glad that that confusion was cleared up when I saw the new release date eventually pop up online. It is coming out next year. No need to stress. Hopefully next year will be a better reading year than this one. And then I actually only have a few more books on this list, surprisingly. So we had a continuation of a series that I love, and I had it on my May, February, and April TBR videos in an effort to kind of bolster my reading, because The Great Hunt was a book that I was reading for 6 months and it just brought my reading motivation completely down. Thankfully, that's finished now and I'm not continuing the series as far as I'm aware. So thankfully, I've got my reading slate clean. But the book that I'm talking about is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in her Farseer trilogy, and I love The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. That's all of her trilogies and series across the Farseer and Liveship and Rainwilds series, and Tawny Man and Fitz and Fool. That's all of them. I adored all of them, but I read them so long ago that I've forgotten so much about them. So reading them, I'm so excited to rediscover them. I reread Assassin's Apprentice very early this year, and I haven't really continued at all, but my partner is just finishing up his read through of the Liveship Traders, and he's telling me about how amazing it is, and I'm like, oh, I remember how much I fell in love with these books. I really need to reread them too. So he's helped me remember my motivation to read these books. So hopefully next year I can put Royal Assassin on my TBR and actually finish it, because I put it on 3 and it didn't really stick this year. But that's just how it is. I read like 40 books this year, and usually I would read between 80 and 100, so I really just dropped right back. So we'll see how next year goes. Robin Hobb will definitely be part of the plan next year. And so will Brandon Sanderson, because funny enough, I also put Warbreaker and Elantris on 2 TBR lists at the beginning of the year. I think it was just my January TBR, maybe my February one. Either way, very start of the year, massive plans, didn't happen. Elantris and Warbreaker are 2 standalones by Brandon Sanderson, and I've read them. I've obviously loved them. Sanderson is a favorite author of mine, and I was planning to reread a lot of his work this year, but that just really hasn't eventuated. Except for Skyward, I reread Skyward and Starsight in anticipation of Cytonic coming out in November, but beyond that, I didn't really delve deeply into his work, and I really need to, because I really want to rediscover all of my love for reading again, and I want to deep dive on my reading motivation. And I think because I've been reading and picking up stuff, and in some cases stuff by the same authors, and then not liking it when I've liked some of their backlist, it's been quite frustrating for me to get back on the bandwagon with reading. So if I reread stuff that I know I've loved, surely that can hype myself up again for reading next year. So that is ultimately the plan, but Elantris, Warbreaker and Royal Assassin just didn't get done as rereads for me this year. There were a whole bunch of other books that I wanted to reread. I think Red Rising and Saga were on there as well, but it's all right. I'll get to them. I know that I've loved them, so I'm just going to love them again in the future. It'll be fine. But I do want to discuss one more book before I close this video out, and that is Auroras End by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the concluding book in their Aurora cycle. The first book is Aurora Rising, the second is Aurora Burning, now we've got Aurora's End. I have done 2 book talks for the first 2 books, and I was planning to read this one as well because it came out in early November, but I thought, you know what? I'm not going to read any more Jay Kristoff. I've just decided he's not my favorite author anymore. I read Empire of the Vampire and I absolutely hated it. I did a vlog for it. If you're interested in all of my spoiler thoughts for it, I'll link it for you, because I really suffered so all of you could thrive. And I've decided, you know what? I'm not going to put myself through that again. Why would I put myself through a book that I'm not enjoying? I'm going to embrace DNFs and be more self-aware, and that starts now. Why start in January when I can start now? I'm not going to continue this series. Obviously, I was planning to, which is why I have this book, and I would honestly like to know the ending so that I actually have some kind of clean conclusion to this series. I've got some kind of like closure needing to happen here, but I will figure that out in the future. I'll probably just flip to the end, which is like a reader's cardinal sin, but at this point with this series, I don't care. So I'll probably just do that, and that way I will understand what happens with the series and the characters, because after the second book in the series, I was really angry and disappointed at a few things that the authors did that I thought they were more wise than that and more well versed in their writing, that they didn't need to fall back on certain things and tropes that they did, because it was very frustrating. They basically relied on plot to carry their story, and then they revoked certain things that they established with characters in order to do that, and it just did not feel true to the book at all, and it was very frustrating to read about. So I'm not going to continue because there's no point. So that's what I really wanted to end this video on. I read Empire of the Vampire, and that was like my last Hail Mary of will I like J. Kristoff or not? And the answer is no. So I'm not going to continue with this YA series. I want to be free. I want to be wild and free and read whatever I want. So if there is an author that you've actively DNF'd, if you are making some kind of mental note to yourself to be aware of, like, I am not liking this book, I don't want to drag myself through it, I should be enjoying a book from the get-go and not having to push hundreds of pages in before I actually find something that I like, please let me know down below, because I thought I was really good at DNFing books, and I have been, to be fair. It's just been a few outliers this year that I've felt obligated to read, and that's where I should have stopped. I should not feel obligated to read anything. Reading is for fun. I know I do it obviously and talk about it on my channel, but at the same time, it should be fun. So there concludes my December TBR. All of the books really are carrying over from November. I'm not reading this, and I might have an audiobook or two up my sleeve as well. We'll see. I'm honestly genuinely not sure about how I'm going to recover, but I envision a lot of Animal Crossing on Switch and a lot of audiobooks in my future. So come and chat to me down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.